We've been honoured to have the relationship with Pfizer, the leading pharmaceutical provider here out of America. And that relationship is a 10-year operating relationship that we started as part of a major digitalization program that they were driving through now. The journey's been really amazing. So it was a lot of different steps that we've continued to execute it against. And we've maintained incredibly high service level performance throughout that period. And I think it's that trust in execution that has allowed us to continue to be able to extend our relationship, not just as a technology provider, but really as a strategic partner and helping them to chart their course forward. Well, whilst all this was being discussed and our plans were being put forward, with no insight that the world was about to be hit by this train called COVID and the global pandemic that stopped us all in our streets. But we were very fortunate that our operating model had always looked very long term. So our resilience plan, being a global provider, we had multiple locations around the world. We treat every one of our employees, no matter what country they're in, no matter what role they provide, we give them the same tools, the same training, the same HR support to be successful. So when the pandemic happened and we had to relocate operations from our offices back to home office environments, as I'm sure many of you experienced yourself, every individual had a laptop. We weren't hot desking. We weren't using the same server for 5 people on a 7/24 rotating shift. That allowed us to overnight seamlessly enable ourselves to continue to execute against our responsibilities. So that was the first thing we did. The second thing that we did was, as part of the transformation agenda that we were working with you on, we set a very clear agenda with the client around how we were going to optimize the digitization agenda through a value stream mapping of the existing software development lifecycle processes and the IT operations processes. And that allowed us to give a very predictable view of how we were going to change the operating model. And we paired that with a new operating model using our SRE methodology, then brought in the technology and tools. And that was probably the hardest period because now we're in the heart of COVID. Right? Everything's shut down. Everyone's working from home. People can't cross borders within countries. Even within the states, you work from home. Very heavy restrictions were in place, but we were able to remotely deploy the technology changes and work through the consulting engagements that involved a significant number of interviews with your employees from both our teams and obviously from the client side as well. We're able to take that, continue to execute against those deliverables, and then ultimately deploy that technology solution. So not long after that had kicked off, the world's already shut down. Obviously, Pfizer is one of the leading providers of pharmaceuticals today, immediately was engaged to explore this new phenomena. And the scientists were all deployed to really understand it and determine what can we do to control COVID? How can we develop a response to it? I just want to be clear, we did not do the science. We are part of the foundation of the building that enables the scientific community to work at their best. We needed a resilient architecture. We needed a scalable architecture. We needed the operating processes and methodology to ensure that it was always available. Whenever a scientist needed to do discovery, needed to do analysis, needed to do testing, that infrastructure had to be ready, on, and performing at its best. And that's what we delivered to enable that scientific community to do their job. And by the way, they did it incredibly well. When you look at what was achieved in less than a year, which would normally take multiple years to go through the regulatory approvals, just the the R&D, the testing, the validations that are required, and then ultimately releasing the product. So think of that supply chain. Every part of that supply chain had to execute flawlessly in essentially a 6-month period. You know, Pfizer did over 40,000 clinical trials. That's individual people like you and I that were involved in the clinical trial to validate that that vaccine was effective, safe, and resilient. And so, you know, just as that one data point, you can imagine how much time to collect all that information on each individual that participated in the trials, to analyze that information, and then to produce the patterns of predictability that come with it. You know, what they've been able to achieve in last year is truly remarkable and a real testament to the power of our humankind to face these challenges and knock them down. I think it really is quite amazing, and our hats are off to Pfizer and the peer group who have really helped to champion this change in the industry.